What's up, YouTube? Today we're reviewing the 2021 Porsche Macan GTS. Huge thank you to Jesus Yepez over at Koons, Tysons, Chevy, Buick, GMC for allowing me to do the review for you guys today. If you're interested in this particular Macan or any of the cool used car inventory that they have on their lot, I'll have their link in the description box down below, as well as Jesus's information on screen, as well as the description box down below. But with that said, let's get into the video. First, let's talk about looks. And the first thing you notice is that this front bumper right here is a little bit more open than it would be on, say, like a Macan S. There are less of these like plastic bars that go across the front bumper to allow more airflow. And then coming over to here, there's one less of these bars that go across. This is like a daytime running light type light in LED. It looks very good. But you can see that there's just a lot more airflow to go right into the intercooler on this side, and same goes for the driver's side as well. That light right there, as well as just all that airflow going right into the intercooler right there. You do have these headlights right here, and when they're on, they have like that X style kind of design where it's light up here, light up here, light up here, light up here, and they just are kind of like that. And then also, if you look in the headlight, as you can see right there, it just says Porsche right there, and that's just a little Easter egg right there. Stuff like that I personally really like. I think it just looks just that much more luxurious, that much more premium. But moving along, you can see that we have our front parking sensors right up here, as well as a front facing camera right there, and obviously you do have the Porsche badge right there. Moving along, you see we have these 20-inch RS Spider design wheels right here in this matte black color. I think that they look very good, especially with this red brake caliper back here. Good size brake caliper, definitely brings this car to a halt pretty quickly. You do have really nice Michelin tires on this thing as well, and they are a 265/45, obviously with a 20-inch wheel. And you know, they got a pretty sporty design. I think these are all seasons. But moving along, you do have your little GTS badge going across the bottom of the front driver door right here, and it's also just a matte black little panel that goes across all the way to the rear door back there. But you do have these mirrors that look very good. They definitely match the design of the body very, very well. And you do have a camera in the mirror right there, as well as a light right there to shine down. It's a puddle light. And you do have your turn signal in the mirror as well. Obviously, this car does have keyless access, so you just put your hand behind here and you can open up the door, but we'll get to that in a minute. You do have black trim surrounding the windows on the sides, which looks very, very good. Especially on this black paint that we have right here. Again, these tires back here, however, these are a 295/40 R20, so these are a little bit thicker than they are in the front, and obviously that's for like 0 to 60 and stuff like that, just to give you just that much more grip. And obviously you do have that nice red brake caliper back here as well, with a decent sized rotor. Moving along, you do have these clear LED taillights that also look very good. And for 2021, you see that the light bar goes all the way across, as opposed to just the lights on the right and left side of the car. And looking at the emblem right here, you do see it says Porsche spelled out in nice black lettering right here, as well as more of that black lettering down here that says Macan GTS. Moving along down here, for the GTS, you do have a black quad tip exhaust that looks very, very good, and also sounds very, very good. But this is just looking at them, and I think that they do look very good, as well as a very sporty looking rear diffuser back here. But let's take a look at that rear end again. I really like the clear tail lamps on this black paint. I think that it just really pops and just looks that much more sporty. But one interesting thing to note is that to open up the rear hatch, you have this little button right here in your windshield wiper back here. So all you do is just push this button and the rear hatch pops open. And let's talk about a little storage room back here. You can definitely fit a few suitcases back here. And the car does look small. However, the trunk is actually a pretty decent size. You can definitely fit your groceries, like 3 or 4 suitcases, duffel bags. So it is definitely a good sized trunk. and you do have a spare tire under here as well. And looking at these buttons over here, you can lower or raise the rear end of the vehicle depending on if you have a heavy thing that you're trying to get into the trunk. So obviously pushing this button down here is going to lower the rear end, and pushing this button up here is going to raise it. But yeah, that's what these buttons do right over here. And you do have a little bit more storage space right in here, along with a little bit of netting so it doesn't go throughout the entire trunk. Maybe you could put like a small umbrella there, a couple water bottles, stuff like that. And you also do have a 12-volt outlet right here as well. Closing that trunk, you got that button right there, and it closes. You got that little covered divider right in there so nobody can see what's inside of your trunk. It goes up with the trunk. But moving along, you got your gas cap on the passenger side of the vehicle, 93 octane only. Again, more of that GTS badging in that red, which really matches the interior very nicely, because you can see you got a red interior in here. We'll move in there in a minute. But one thing I did want to note before we go inside, we'll walk over to the driver's side, open up the door and pop the hood, is that this hood is interesting in that you'll see in a minute when I open it, it leaves little holes for the headlights. So you can see the little holes right here. And we're looking at the motor right here. It's a 2.9 liter V6 that makes 375 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. And Porsche claims that this motor is able to do 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. However, Motor Trend has tested it and they got 3.9 seconds. So if you really want to find out how quick your Macan GTS is 0 to 60, go out on Amazon and buy a draggy, and then just do as many launch controls as you want until you get an average number. So maybe it is a 3.9 seconds 0 to 60, or maybe it's a 4.1 seconds 0 to 60. But yeah, if you really want to find out the exact number of your Macan GTS, definitely get a draggy and test it out for yourself. Let's close that hood. You can see that beautiful Porsche logo right there. Moving into the interior and looking at the door panel, at the top of the door panel you do have a soft touch plastic type material, followed by some brushed aluminum. It's a darker color brushed aluminum, and you also do have some more lighter aluminum trim at the top of that. You do have a aluminum door handle right here, followed by your unlock and lock buttons there. And you have 2 memory adjustment settings right here. So if you have 2 different drivers, you can set 2 different seat memories right there. And then also you do have automatic up and down windows in the front and rear of this vehicle. And if you want to open up your trunk, you have the button right here. And if you want to lock your rear windows, you have this button right here. And to adjust all your mirror stuff, that can all be done up top here. You can fold these mirrors, adjust the mirrors, stuff like that. But yeah, you get your blind spot button right there. And obviously to move the mirrors, you got that thing right there. Moving to the bottom, you have a decent amount of storage space in here, and you can fit a smart water bottle in there, and not much more. It's decently small. But you can definitely fit the little things like hand sanitizer and stuff like that that you usually put in your door panel. So most people don't really put that much stuff in their door panel anyway. But this does have a 10-speaker Bose sound system that does sound very good. I'm a fan of it. It also does have wireless Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto. And you do have like this black brushed aluminum type piece right here that says Macan GTS, and I just think that that looks very, very good. It's not illuminated, but still looks very good. These are the 18-way adjustable seats right here in this beautiful garnet red leather. I think that they look very, very good, and it also feels very good. And I really like the mix between the black leather back here and the red leather. It's just a very good match, and it looks very, very sporty and also very, very luxurious. And it's just a very soft feeling leather. And like I mentioned, these are the 18-way adjustable seats, so you can adjust the side bolsters to get wider or thinner and stuff like that. But stepping in, this does have keyless access and keyless start, so all you got to do is just have your key in your pocket and turn the key right here and start her up. And you can see your nice RPM gauge right there, followed by your speedometer on the left side of the gauge cluster. And you can also see that right on the right side of your gauge cluster, you have your vehicle information. And you can switch this to Sirius XM audio information. So you can pretty much adjust this to be anything that you want. Like you want your vehicle stuff, gas, your coolant temperature, oil pressure, stuff like that. you can do that, as well as oil temperature. You can see that you do have your little lane guidance thing right there, which it'll alert you if you are moving throughout the lane, but it's not going to keep you in the lane. But backing up right here, you do have this really nice Porsche steering wheel. It feels very good. It's definitely good for sporty oriented driving. You have these beautiful aluminum paddle shifters right here that feel very, very nice. They got a really nice feel to them. You see that they've got that hollowed out piece right here, as well as a hollowed out piece right here and on down here. Right here, you have this little dial to switch between regular driving mode, sport mode, and sport plus mode. And I'm not sure if you guys could hear it, but when switching from normal mode to sport plus mode, it gets gradually louder. So this is your normal mode, is your quietest mode. Go into sport mode, it's a little bit louder. Go into sport plus mode and it's even louder, and it sounds very, very good. And like I mentioned earlier, we will be doing some outside sound clips. But you also do have individual mode that you can customize to your liking. But what's really cool is that you have this little button right here, and by pushing the button, you have a sport response thing that basically puts you into sport plus mode for about 20 seconds. So you have the sporty throttle response for 20 seconds. So if you want to, you know, pass somebody, push that button and then slam on the gas, you got those super quick shifts and just better throttle response and stuff like that. So I think that's a really cool thing that I hope more car manufacturers start incorporating on their vehicles. But for cruise control, you have this little stalk right here to adjust your cruise control settings right here. Moving over to here, you do have your headlight controls, and this is, again, to start your vehicle. You don't have to put any key in here. This little piece right here is already in there, and basically all you do is turn it to start it. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Moving down here, this center stack really reminds me of a 911 with all the buttons and stuff like that. It's really cool. I really like how they incorporated a little bit of the 911-ness into this Macan. It just really feels very sporty. And you've got all basically right here, your drive control settings. You got traction control, suspension settings. If you want to go into your lowest suspension mode, you push that button right there. You want to raise the suspension, you go into off-road mode right there. Electronic parking brake right here. Again, your lane keep alert right there. Exhaust button right here. So if you want louder exhaust, obviously you do want to push that button right there, and you should definitely always have that button pressed. And you have auto stop start off button right there, which you should always turn auto stop start off. It's very annoying. But you do have your gear shifter right here, and then to put it into manual mode, if you want to upshift, you go up. If you want to downshift, you go down. But putting it back into park, the reason that that alarm keeps going off is because of that front license plate right up there. It senses that, and it just sets that off. So in the driving portion of the review, you might hear a little bit of that beeping, and that is because of that front license plate. But what's really nice is that for 2021, they definitely widened the screen right here, so it's not as small. I'll picture the old Macan infotainment system right here, and then you can compare it to what it is now, and it's definitely a lot better now. One little gripe that I do have, and that is with Apple Carplay, is that the Apple Carplay is only this part of the screen right here, and it's just very small, and it's not as easy to use. But I believe they're going to start phasing their new Tysons system into the Macan GTS, so it's going to get better. But for 2021, it is a little small. You have your volume knob right here, and you have this little dial right here that basically brings you throughout the screen. So if you don't want to mess with the touchscreen, you can mess with that. You have your back button right here. Back button again, it brings you back to over here, and again, you can just basically go through your screens like that. Push it to select what you want, and all your information buttons are right here. Obviously, you can read what they do, adjust your sound settings, source, stuff like that. You do have your vents right here that look very nice, and you also do have a panoramic sunroof right here that really adds to the interior. It really feels like it opens it up, and when you close it, the interior does feel a little bit smaller, but obviously it's not a big deal, especially if you're a driver or in the passenger seat. Plenty of room in the front, feels very, very sporty again. And up here you do have this fully leather wrapped dash that looks very good, and the leather also feels very, very nice. It's a very soft leather, again, like I mentioned, for the seats, but you do have this red stitching that goes across that matches the red interior. It's very, very beautiful interior. Moving up here, you have your sunroof controls, you have your parking button. So like those beeps right up there, you can turn those beeps off by pushing this button up here. You've got your light settings right throughout there. You've got your universal garage door opener right there. Again, sunroof controls right here, and your shade for your sunroof controls right there. And if you want your lights to come on when your doors open, you have that button set right there. These are for your driver and passenger lights right there. And this is your dome light right up here. Opening this up, you do have a nice LED light right here to look at yourself, and you do have this little holder right here for important papers like registration or whatever you want to put right there. You can do that. Moving along down, you have your climate controls up top here, and you have this little screen right here that where you adjust your temperature. So it starts off at low, and you can adjust it 60 up to whatever you want. Hazards right up here, and again, more of your climate control stuff right there. You do have a 12-volt power outlet right down in here. Again, 2 cup holders right in the middle right there. Decent size, definitely cannot fit a big Gatorade in here, but you can fit a water bottle just fine. Moving in here, you have 2 USB-C ports right there. So no USB-A ports, but that's not really a big deal. Everybody's really moving to a USB-C port anyway. And a decent sized center console down in here as well. You could probably fit a little hand sanitizer or 2, but definitely not too much room for storage down in here. But one thing that's nice about this center fold down armrest is that you can push it up. So while you're driving, if you have a shorter arm, you can push that up and reach the steering wheel just like that. So on long road trips, that's definitely a nice thing to do. But yeah, let's open up this glove box right in here. It's a decent sized glove box. Obviously, you can fit your owner's manual right in there, napkins, straws, whatever you want to put in there. Whatever you usually put in a glove box, you can do that. But this car does have this little sport chrono feature right here that looks very, very nice. It records lap times and stuff like that, but it's also just a nice little fancy clock with your time right there and your clock right down there. This is for lap times and stuff like that. Very, very nice. Also adds to the element of sportiness, and it makes you kind of feel like you're in a 911. But some things that I wanted to talk about that I have written down in my notes right here is that this car in particular does have the $6,610 Premium Plus pack, and that includes the Bose sound system, keyless entry and ignition, CarPlay, no Android Auto, auto dimming mirrors, heated seats all around, as well as ventilated seats in the front, and you also get the panoramic sunroof. And like I mentioned, this car does have the 18-way adjustable seats. That is a $380 option with the Premium Plus pack. However, if you don't have the Premium Plus pack, I believe it's like an $1,100 option. I'll put the exact price of that right here. This car in particular does not have wireless charging. However, you can get wireless charging as an option. But one thing that I did want to mention is that this car does have air suspension, and I believe you could probably figure that out, especially with those buttons in the back that you can lower or raise the suspension trying to load something into the car. But when you put this car into Sport Plus mode, it lowers it and gets you down into that sporty stance that you want, especially if you're going to be carving up some back roads or you're going to take this car on track. But if you're going to go off-road, you can raise it right up, and you've got your off-road button right down here, like I mentioned earlier. And another thing that I did want to mention is that this car does, with the GTS package, come with the Sport exhaust, so you don't have to option the Sport exhaust with the GTS. However, if you get one of the lower end trims like a Macan S, you do have to option the Sport exhaust. And another thing I wanted to mention that I don't think I mentioned when we were talking about performance is that this car is all-wheel drive, and it does have a 7-speed dual clutch PDK transmission, which when we get into the driving portion of the review, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but it's a very responsive transmission, and it's just very, very nice, especially on downshifts. It's very, very smooth. Another thing I wanted to mention, again, pertaining to performance, is that this car does get 17 miles per gallon city and 22 miles per gallon highway. So definitely decent fuel economy, especially for a vehicle that's this quick. Stepping into the rear, one thing I did want to mention is that I'm 5'9", and I don't have that much extra headroom above my head. I probably have like an inch and a half. So if you're 6 foot, I don't know how comfortable you'd be in the rear. Especially because I'm adjusted behind myself, and I'm 5'9", obviously, and I'm adjusted perfectly in the front. And I really don't have either that much knee room either. I probably have like 3 or 4 inches of knee room. Leg room, I'm totally fine. I definitely have enough leg room, and I feel like I could definitely be comfortable on a long road trip, but somebody much taller than me, probably not too comfortable. Nice side armrest right here, very, very comfortable. Again, automatic up and down in the rear, heated rear seats. And also talking about connectivity, you have 2 USB-C ports right down here, and this is a tri-zone climate control, so you can adjust the temperature right back here. Up is for more, and down is for colder. And obviously you can turn these vents off right up here. You also do have a center fold down armrest right here, and definitely very, very comfortable. And I can see myself sitting back here for 5-6 hours, definitely no problem. But you also do have 2 cup holders right in here, and opening up this door pocket right here, you can fit a good sized water bottle right there, but not much more than that. Again, pretty compact vehicle, but you do have storage behind the driver and passenger seat, and definitely very comfortable for somebody who's 5'9" and you sit in the back seats, but much more than 5'9", and I really don't know how comfortable you'd be back here. But one thing that you do have is that GTS embossed in the back of the seat, and that just looks very, very good. But like I mentioned, we've talked about the exterior, we've talked about the interior, we've talked about the performance, but let's see what this thing's like to drive. So I will see you guys in the driver's seat. And now on to my favorite part of the review, and that is the driving portion of the review. And the reason behind that is because you learn so much about a car by driving it, obviously, right? But no, seriously, you learn how it takes turns, how it handles at high speeds. And I know I say it every video, but it really is because it's true. But, you know, I've been driving this Macan around, just not that much yet, really. But I've taken it around some turns on the way to the filming spot where we film. And, you know, just by going down those roads, it handles very well. The brakes are very, very good. And one thing that I really like about the brakes is that they're so linear. Like, the more that you push your foot down the brake, the harder that it stops. And, you know, a lot of cars are not like that. They're either too touchy or you got to put your foot too far into them. And that's not the case with this car. The brake pedal is very, very linear. So obviously it like kind of can read your mind, and basically however much you push the brake is however much brake pressure that you want. And I don't know, I just really, really like the way that the brake pedal feels. And going around these turns, this really feels like it should not be able to go around these turns like it does. Like, it's just, it doesn't feel like I'm driving an SUV, and the steering is just very, very communicative. I would say comparing it to the M5, I feel like the M5 steering was just a touch more direct. Like, basically with the M5, and I know you can't really compare the two cars because the M5, you know, is a sedan and it's more expensive, but just comparing the two, I feel like the M5 just had a little bit more of a direct steering feel. Big dump truck just on this 2-lane road right here. But from getting going, PDK is a great transmission. Right now I have it in Sport Plus mode, and I'm using the paddle shifters. The paddle shifters are very responsive, especially on downshifts. Very, very responsive downshifts, and just the downshifts are very, very smooth. Some of the smoothest downshifts that I felt in any car. And we're coming up to the spot where I really like to test these cars out, and let's see how this thing does. Does very, very well. Not pushing it too hard, but you know, you can just tell that this thing is really, really good at handling. One car that I can compare this to, I believe, is I've driven a BMW X3M competition, and comparing the two, I would say that this thing might have a little bit better of a transmission, but the two feel very, very similar. Like, the way that they go around these turns, they both feel very similar. I would say maybe the X3M competition might ride a little bit firmer. I feel like this thing absorbs the bumps just a little bit better. I feel like the suspension is not so firm. However, it is still firm enough to where when you go around turns and stuff, you don't have that much body roll. But I would say that the suspension in the X3M competition is definitely a little bit firmer. And the brakes on the X3M competition definitely bite, like, basically right at the top of the pedal, whereas these brakes are just a little bit more linear. And like I mentioned just a little bit earlier in the video when I was talking about the brakes being very linear, the throttle is also very linear. So basically, like, I don't know how to really describe it to you guys, but basically it's just very, very linear, and it almost like it reads your mind. Like, I don't know, it's just very, very, it's hard to describe, but let me just tell you that this car is a joy to drive, and you can definitely tell that you're driving a Porsche. Like, they definitely have all their performance and handling and just the feel of the car, just they have all that stuff down packed. Like, it's just very, very good. Like, the fit and finish of this interior, like, you know, they do those ASMR videos where they go and they touch all, like, the different materials on the car, and it makes those, like, creaky noises. Like I'm doing that right now, and there's no noises really coming from anything. Like there's no creaks or anything. Like, and that's just the Porsche build quality, and you can't really find that really with that many other manufacturers. Like even Mercedes, BMW, they still, like when you push, you can hear that creakiness. And yeah, with Porsche, that's not really the case. Obviously, you're gonna find a few spots where it is gonna creak a little bit, but I'm very impressed by the lack of creakiness when I mess with this kind of stuff. So very, very good build quality. All the fit and finish, like I mentioned before, very, very good. But let's get back to the drive. The way that this thing drives is just amazing. Yes, it is a crossover. However, it feels a lot like a little sports car, like a little sedan. And I have a 2010 Camaro SS, and I definitely can't compare this to that. But this thing definitely handles a lot better than that car. And this thing not only weighs more, but it's also a four-door vehicle. And obviously that is a muscle car. This is more of a sporty-oriented Porsche. But we're pulling out. Let's do a little acceleration, shall we? And I would say that if you want a car that's going to be very quick and very fun and engaging around town, definitely take a look at the Macan GTS. Because, you know, it's definitely not the fastest thing in the world. So once you get like higher up into the speeds, like I would assume probably around like 100-ish miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, and I haven't been that fast in this car, but I would assume at around those speeds it starts to slow down and it starts to feel a little bit slower. But like I said, if you want a cruiser around town that's very, very comfortable, but if you want to rip up some back roads with some nice tight turns and some nice straightaways that are only going to be able to get up to like 60 miles an hour, I think that this is a great vehicle for that, because it's a very, very quick vehicle. Like when you go around the turns and you want to like gun it a little bit, it's just very, very quick. And I feel like it's more for like tight turns and like just little straightaways and stuff like that, because it's a very, very quick car, like I said. But like I mentioned, like I would say, like comparing it to the M5, I would say the M5 is more of a fast vehicle, and I would say that this is more of a quick vehicle. Like the M5 really started pulling around higher speeds, whereas this thing starts to drop off around higher speeds. However, it really pulls around town and at low speeds. So like I said, if you want a car that's going to be very quick, it's going to be very fun on little back roads where you are, and you don't want a daily driver that you think you're going to get into too much trouble with, definitely take a look at this. These seats, like I mentioned, very, very comfortable. 5'9", 145 pounds. And like I mentioned, these side bolsters are adjustable. However, these side bolsters right now are adjusted perfectly, so I can definitely rip around some turns at some pretty high speeds if I wanted to. But yeah, definitely would feel like I'm held in very, very nicely. And just like the bolstering around my sides, just it's a very soft. It feels very, very good. It's like some memory foam, kind of like hugging me, you know? And that's kind of what you want in a sporty daily driver, is that just a very, very comfortable seat. And I know by the look of these seats, they might not look the most comfortable. However, you know, take it from me that these seats are very, very comfortable. Like the way that you sit in them, and just the way that they feel, they're nice and soft. They're very, very comfortable seats. So I just wanted to add something. I actually finished the video just a bit ago, and I'm driving back to the dealership, but I really just wanted to add that this stereo in this car, it's the Bose 10-speaker audio system, is probably one of the best sound systems that I've heard in any car. And I don't say that lightly. It really is one of the best sounding systems that I've heard in any car. It's very, very clear, and it's got the perfect amount of bass as well. So if you're into audio, definitely get the 10-speaker Bose audio system. But yeah, I just wanted to add that. I thought that that was important to add, and it really stuck out to me that I pulled off to the side of the road, and I just wanted to talk about that. So just adding that into the video. Like I mentioned, you know, this car is very, very quick. It handles very, very well, and it's also very, very smooth. Like right now I'm in sport mode, and it's a firm suspension. However, it's still, like, it takes these bumps just very, very gently. And going around this turn, one thing I did want to mention is that the turning radius on this car is awesome. Like, it's a very, very tight turning radius. And I was talking to my buddy who helps me do these videos, and we kind of equated this thing to kind of being like a Porsche version of the Volkswagen GTI. You know, it's nice, it's compact, but it's very, very beautiful with all the Porsche finishings and stuff like that. It's got a very nice look on the outside as well. But you know, this is a Porsche GTI. Like I mentioned, it's very compact, and you know, you can throw it around these turns. And I don't know, that's just something that we came up with when we were looking at it, and then also just the ergonomics of the interior as well. But you know, we've talked about the exterior, we've talked about the performance, we've talked about the interior, so I pretty much have everything down. So to summarize this vehicle, I'm going to reuse a few words that I've used throughout this video. Quick, nimble, fuel efficient, and fun. So if you're looking for all those things, definitely look no further than the Macan GTS. At least go out and test drive one and compare it to whatever other car you want to test drive. But take it from me, very comfortable ride, very comfortable just car in general. But yeah, that's the end of today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys liked most about the Macan GTS, and let me know what you would change about the Macan GTS. I'm curious to hear what you guys' comments are. But like I said, please hit that subscribe button. I'm really gunning for 1,000 subscribers, and the only way I can do that is with your guys' support. So if you guys can, please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. Please leave a comment in the comment section down below. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.